our kids want something, but we know what they need, right? So you have to have that level of like leadership where, you know what they want, but you also know what they need, and you kind of have to give them that hybrid of essentially both.
How do you build a network, run a profitable business, and make an impact? Oh, and have a personal life at the same time? That's the question, and this podcast is the answer. I'm your host, Chaz Wilson, husband, father of 5, author of the book 5+1, president and co-founder of Master Networks, Inc., a national networking organization. Look, each week I bring you successful entrepreneurs who will share success strategies of how to effectively build a network, add valuable wisdom to your journey, and help you succeed. Welcome to Connect, Share, and Prosper. Prosper, we're super excited today. This is part 2 with Brian and Kat Sullivan. You're going to want to pay attention. So if you're listening right now on Facebook Live, hopefully you're not driving. So if so, pull over and take notes later. But if you're listening to this and you're somewhere you can take notes, you're going to want to, because they're going to share amazing tips, social media tips, how to use social media, how to connect and build your community. That's what we're going to talk about today with my guests, Brian and Kat Sullivan. Let me just tell you a little bit about them if you missed part 1. They are in business together. They are married, parents of 3 children. They live in California, and they have this great business called Marketing Solved and a product called Tassie. And our team's been using that as well. And so we're super excited to have Brian and Kat Sullivan on Connect, Share, Prosper today. Welcome, you guys.
We're very excited to be here. Yeah, thanks for having us.
We're excited. We love you. You're the best.
Oh, I love you guys. This is going to be fun. Yes, we have a great community. So do you. Your community's been connecting with ours with yours. It's been so great.
It's great. Yeah.
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, you said before we went on the recording here, so because I don't want to miss this, you said, hey, let me know when we go live because I'm going to share this. Yes, she's going to share it. And she said, what'd you say, sharing?
Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. It's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting point. So let's talk about that if we can just for a second.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm going to get right into tangible tips.
Let's do it.
If you haven't listened to part 1, go back and listen to part 1 on our YouTube channel, Facebook page, etc. Go find it under Master Networks. Look for part 1 where we talk about some of the other things that led up to how you got this business started. But today I really want to get tangible tips.
Cool.
Okay. So you said sharing is caring. Why is it that people don't think about, like, again, a funny video or something like that they'll share, but sometimes the things of value we forget, we just like and move on. Why is it people forget to share? And you said sharing is caring. Tell me more about that.
I'll jump in and start, I guess. I think at times people are afraid to share someone else's content to their audience because they're maybe nervous that it'll take away from their message, or it'll be, there will be some opportunity cost, right? Like if my audience is tuning in to this live with Chaz, then maybe they won't tune into my live to hear my offer later. And I think that subconsciously there are times where people feel that way. And it's funny because just like many things in life, sharing gets you in front of the other person's network also. So it actually it builds community.
That's true.
And it allows your audience to engage with stuff that's important to you, right? If, being on this podcast with you is important to us. And so we think our community wants to see that and hear from us. Do you have a different take?
I do. So, it's interesting with when I think like, okay, why isn't someone sharing? So the first thing I think about is, did you ask people to share? Or did you give them a call to action to share? Right. And a lot of times people won't take an action if you don't tell them. And sometimes it's really that simple. Like, hey guys, if this message resonated with you, please pass it along. Or something simple like, if you know someone who, needs my services, or if you know someone who would enjoy this message, tag them in the comments below. Like, right? It's so easy to give someone that call to action. And so I always think like, why isn't someone sharing? Kind of go back to tell them to share, give them that call to action. And that's going to help you get those shares is the first thing I would say about sharing.
You're good at this.
I've done this before.
I know.
But the other part about sharing is, it's really like, it's reciprocal. And
Yes.
so one of the things that we feel like is really important, and we think that other, entrepreneurs and business owners should do as well, is really get into the habit of like creating a little share circle, right? Like I'm going to share your content, one, because I support you and who you are and what you're doing. And then, you don't have to share mine, but if I share all of your content, you're probably going to be more inclined to want to share my content. You're going to be like, whoa, Kat and Brian support me. And so now I'm going to share their stuff. And the more that you do that, like you actually build really good relationships with people. I've met a lot of social media influencers by simply showing up, commenting, and sharing their stuff, and like sharing it into my groups and saying, hey, this is an influencer I want you guys to know. And then that puts me on the influencer's radar. And then I get all these opportunities because they know who I am from just sharing content. So if you guys aren't sharing content, get into the habit of sharing it. And see what those opportunities look like for you.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's so much there. I don't want to go past this too much, right? So first of all, let's test this out. Guys, if you're listening to this live, go ahead and share it. Tag somebody in it. Somebody who's listening right now that you're going, oh, someone so needs to hear this message. They need to connect with Brian and Kat. Share this right now. Tag them in it if you're listening live, or afterwards, go back and share this if you're not listening to the live. But let me go back to something you said. Number one, you got to ask people to share. Just like I did right now. I sometimes forget that in my podcast. I'm like, oh, they're listening to it, and I'm speaking to the person who's listening, not helping them trigger that sort of that thought of who needs to be listening to this as well, right?
Yeah.
And then you said this. Tell me a little bit more about this share circle, this reciprocal thing. I mean, my mind's going like crazy on all the potential influencers I've had on this show that then like, sometimes they share, sometimes they don't. And those, you guys, I don't know if you know this, and we may have told you this, but you have still our top viewed episode of Connect, Share, Prosper, your last one. And in some ways, it's very simple. You shared it and continued to share it and talked about it, right? And so, again, let's talk about this share circle and this sort of law of proximity of being close to these people. Tell us a little bit more about that.
You know what? And I don't know if you remember, but we went to a conference this year. We go every year. It's called Traffic and Conversion. And it's like just the best, the A players in the online marketing social media space. And we went to Trent Shelton, who is just an amazing influencer and great speaker.
Really positive.
Very,
really
very
positive messaging.
But this was his idea, actually. And we kind of adopted it from him. So to give him full credit for where it came from. But essentially, he said, a lot of times, people don't think to share until you share their stuff first. And so he has like a network, maybe there's like 6 of them. And again, these are high level guys. So it's like him and Jay Shetty. I'll just use those two as an example.
Yeah.
They have multiple millions of people in their network. And so they got together and basically formed this like reciprocal share circle where they share each other's content to their audiences. And the end result is they all grow, right? Yep. So it's not like I'm just sharing Jay's stuff and that's the end of it, right? It's I'm sharing Jay's stuff. And then when I have a new video, Jay is sharing my stuff. And so you just have this, like everybody can create these little circles for their own network, right? Like me and Chaz, we're in a Connect circle now. And so we're going to be sharing content from each other. One, because we know our audiences are going to enjoy it, and because I want to support Chaz, right? Yeah. And hopefully
so
Chaz
legitimately networking.
Yeah, exactly.
Boom.
And one little point of distinction is it may have been lost because Kat dropped so much knowledge there, but you start by sharing the other person's content, right? You don't lead with
hey, I'll share this.
Yeah, you don't reach out in a cold call and say, want to be a part of our share circle because you have 2 million followers and I have 200, right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
No, that's so good, right? It's that we talked about it last time was the Gary Vaynerchuk's jab, 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 right hook. It's like, you can't come in and go, hey, will you share my stuff? No, you're saying, look, give first, give out to your audience and do that. By the way, I love this idea just alone is probably one of the best ideas to do that. And I think our team does that once in a while. We'll share some good stuff, but talk about this for a second, because I think there's some that are going to think, but how does that dilute my own message, or does it take away from my own authority?
Right. So I say no, it doesn't. And that's, I think, what Brian was mentioning in the beginning when people are like, why don't people share? I think that's what they think. They're going to dilute their own brand, or they're going to miss their own opportunity to promote themselves. But we have to get into the mindset of let's do what's best for our community. And I think that it's just more important to think of like the bigger picture, right? It isn't really just about you. If you share a message, Chaz, that's like, it needs to be heard, I'm not going to think to myself, first of all, I'm going to think to myself, my audience needs to hear this. That's my first thought, is like, oh, my audience needs to hear this. I'm not going to think, well, my audience needs to hear this, but I'm a little too selfish to share it, so I'm not going to, right?
Or even worse, my audience needs to hear this, so I'm going to pretend it was my idea.
Bingo, right?
Which is just like the worst.
People do.
It's the worst thing you can do. I don't mean to step on your toes here, but the flip side of the coin for me, because I've seen you do this as we were building our business, is it actually doesn't detract from anything you're doing. In fact, it can put you on that other person's level. So, if Kat's following, an influencer online who has a huge audience before we ever did, and all she ever did was like or comment, she may get noticed by that person. But by sharing it, that other person thinks to themselves, oh, okay, this is an equal in my field, right? And you can word it in a way that it adds a whole lot of value to your community.
It's just pure value.
Right?
Yeah. So just, if you guys have ever heard of the law of reciprocity, that is so true on social media. And it is essentially that, when you give, you get. It's people want to be reciprocal. And so, and using this as an example, I do share stuff from influencers, and I do get calls from them after, and they're like, oh, I had no idea you had a network at all. Yes. And then I'll go and do a training for them, which gets promoted to their audience, which was literally triggered by me sharing someone's message, right? So there's so much value in that. People want to actually reciprocate when you do that for them. And don't look at it like, oh, okay, I'm going to start sharing all the Gary Vee stuff. So he, start with people you actually watch and you actually support.
And whose audience and message resonates with yours. That's just true. Like Kat said, it's not about you. Social media can at times turn into a me-filled sharing platform, but if you really think about it from the other person's perspective, it's a relationship. And if you're just talking about yourself in a relationship, who wants to be in a relationship with that person?
You're probably single.
Yeah, I think it was right. I think it was. So you really have two laws here. You have the law of reciprocity, and you have kind of this law of proximity, because you're then in a circle with people that you probably want to be in their circle. That's why you're sharing their content if it's good stuff. But I think it was Russell Brunson years ago, or at one point I heard him say, when you do this though, it's not the long con. You're not conning somebody into this like relationship that isn't legit. You're really sharing from a place of, I may get nothing out of this ever, and that's okay. That's not why I'm doing it. But if you're doing it for the mere tactic of trying to get in their circle, you're probably not going to get in their circle, right?
Right. It's probably going to fail. Yeah. It's all about your community and sharing things that are helpful for your community, and just identifying those opportunities to be more helpful, to provide more value. It's funny, Brian said, social media isn't about you. And in a way, yes, it is. It's our social media, right? But one of the things that we always say, it's kind of one of our mantras, is, social media is not about you. Social media is about your community. And so it kind of takes like it just takes like the ego out of it and just reminds you, hey, if this is valuable, it's valuable, and I'm going to share it for that reason. And then the benefits just come naturally after that.
And I'd just like to say, just, from my heart here, the long con never works in the long term. The long con may work, for a transaction, but it's not going to work to build a relationship that's lasting. It's going to be exhausting. Pretending to be something that you're not is exhausting. So just be who you are, be authentic with it, share it knowing that your audience wants to hear it. And then, when it's the right opportunity with the right influencer or the right message, then it's going to connect and it's going to be beautiful, and you guys can have a lasting relationship. If it's just fake, it never lasts.
Never.
I mean, relational always trumps transactional, right? And so, and we talked about this. I think I made a post on something you said, and then we ended up turning it into a quote where I talked about, I don't know if you remember that, we talked about like, and it was just something I came up with at the game, you know, the relational game is what will put you in the Hall of Fame. You might win the transactional play or the transactional game, but you won't have a career. And my good friend of ours and a good friend of this show, Satema Gali, he shared something that was interesting. You know Satema? Yeah, so he spoke at our last event. And what was really powerful, he shared this on his page, because the thing is, like, the long con doesn't work because people are smart enough to know that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so they'll sniff you out, they get it, they're like, yeah, I understand. So he posted something that somebody DM'd him that said, you know, are you looking for more friends, whatever? And his reply was great. He put something back, he said, no, I'm not looking for more friends. I have plenty. If you want to get into my circle, you can buy my product. Here's the link. Like, never heard from him again. So it's a good way to actually push, you know, say, hey, where are you in this, right? And so they can sniff this out. Guys, we're listening to Brian and Kat Sullivan here on Connect, Share, Prosper. This is part 2. If you missed part 1, go back and check it out because there's so much great information in there. And last time we talked about this, and you just mentioned this again, and I want to dive deep on this. Why is it that people miss in social media that they're building a community? That they don't treat social media like, they treat it, again, like that transactional thing they have to do, a checklist, and not the community that they're building on social media. Why is it that they miss it, and how can they fix it?
You know what's funny is I just gave you like the major eye roll that like my husband gets so mad about, but because it makes me so frustrated that people miss this. And I don't really know what goes on behind the scenes of what someone's thinking when it comes to social media, but we're 100% community based, right? We don't talk about our fans or followers. And I have, you know, tons of followers because I don't like that phrase. I don't want followers. I want a community.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that there's a big difference there in how you run your business. I don't want people just following me. I want them to be a part of what we're doing, to be learning, to be growing, to be building their businesses. Like that's where we find success. And so we look at those people in our community as people, right? Like they're actual people. And it doesn't matter if you have 100 or 10,000 people. That's an actual person who decided and said, hey, I'm going to follow your page and I want to learn from you. And so we value those individual people, right? It's not a numbers thing. These are actual people.
It's interesting that you say that. So it's like some people have volume of followers. By the way, it's okay if you have volume
Totally.
as long as they're authentic, but some have them because they're paid. I love that, by the way. That's so good. But they might be paid followers. You don't know exactly, right? So, but they have volume, and when you have authenticity, you get velocity to that community because you're coming together. Sorry, Brian, I cut you off. Keep going.
No, that was awesome. That was really good, by the way, Chaz. Thank you.
That was awesome. And you know, I don't quite remember what I was going to say right then. I lost my train of thought a bit.
That's
but
okay.
you know, we sort of come from the mindset that our brand's reputation is built on the success of our clients and customers.
Absolutely.
You know, my brand's reputation isn't built just because I made a lot of sales. My brand's reputation is built because the people who bought our products and services achieved results. And I think there's a huge distinction there. As we started off in our businesses, we entered into a couple different coaching programs. And the coaching program was really like, this is how awesome I am. Look at this large coaching community I built. And when you looked at their clients weren't getting the same level of success. And I think you can only go so far when you're focused on yourself. If you're really focused on the results of your customers and clients, that's going to push and elevate you, right? We have a little saying in our house that a rising tide raises all ships.
Yes.
And we really believe that.
I couldn't agree more. So we launched so I had a coaching program for years. I'm just going to touch on this because I think it's the right thing. And I think for a long time, it wasn't like, hey, it was about me, because it was definitely about the results. But I think that I got to a place where I wasn't listening to the feedback because I thought I knew what was right. And I think in business we do this, right? We get to a place where like, I know what's best for my customer, whether they know it or not. And right. And so what happened was we started to get feedback from our group, and I got with a bunch of leaders and we changed the whole thing, started all over. And now we launched it. We have like 45 people in it. But the group that's there, our mastery, and some of them are listening here, our 5+1 mastery group, like it's now the community led versus me leading it. And because it's community led, the results are better.
Yeah.
And I almost had to take my own step back,
Yeah.
Right? So when people do that in business, don't you see that come through in their social media, the way they talk, the way they present everything? Yeah.
Of course. And what you did though is you listened to your community, right? And actually stepping back shows what a leader you are.
Right.
Yeah, but it took me a while.
Well, we all have a little bit of ego, so it's okay.
Some of us have a lot of ego.
Oh, that's great. Just a little.
I love me some me.
But yeah, I mean, it just shows the level of leadership that you have, and that your focus was, in the end, it was still, okay, how can I make them better? How can I give them what they actually need? And I think as, we're parents. And so one of the things we know it's our kids want something, but we know what they need. Right. So you have to have that level of like leadership where, you know what they want, but you also know what they need. And you kind of have to give them that hybrid of essentially both.
So good. So let's talk about this. I'm sure there's a list of mistakes, like the top 3 things you see everyone do that you go, oh boy. In fact, I'm going to take this list. So if we're doing these, we're going to, but like, what are the top 3, if you will, mistakes that people make in their brand, and then when they put that into social media?
Where do I start? No, there's a few. Do you want to start?
I'll start with one that's there's 2 sides to this coin. And one is they're either only promoting or they're never promoting.
Good one.
Right? So, number one is you got to have some balance. We typically like to follow like an 80-20 principle, where 80% of the time we're posting value, humor, engagement, sort of focused statuses or graphics or videos. And then 20% of the time we're promoting our email list, our products and services, et cetera. If you're following somebody online and they're only blasting their promotions, pretty soon you stop following them. Yeah. And if you're following somebody online who's never telling you about their products or services, it's very hard for them to convert, And so we have clients who have been on both sides of that coin, and we try to get them to find that happy medium. For us, it's a simple rule. It's 80-20. So, 8 out of 10 posts provide value, give them something that's engaging and something that lifts up their spirits, either by posting something motivational or humorous. And then 20% of the time you sort of earn the right to say, sign up for my email list, jump on our next webinar, look at our next product or service. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one.
It's a big one. Okay. Whew. Take a deep breath. Let's go. So there's there's a couple that I tend to talk the most about, because these are the ones I want to change. Right. So one is in the consistency and in the showing up. And I think I talked about this on the last podcast with you. And it is really, people just can't stay consistent, and consistency is what gets you. It's a long-term game. And so people that are thinking that, okay, well, I did 30 days of social media posts and I'm not, Gary Vaynerchuk. Well, yeah, you've got a lot more time and investment that you have to make in order to see results, right? So one of the things that I say, especially when it comes to social media, is that results are going to happen over time, not overnight. Okay. So you have to be literally looking forward. Where's my company going to be in 12 months? And what am I doing now on social media to get me to where I want my company to be in 12 months? And a lot of people, when they look and try to figure that out, they're not taking the actions they need to be taking. And a lot of times it just comes back down to, they're just not being consistent, right? They're all over the place. They're doing this, they're doing that. They're maybe here, they're maybe there. And there's just no plan. And so then, of course, the plan crumbles and falls apart. And we see it all the time where people are like, that just didn't work out for me. And it's like, did it not work out for you? Or were you just, did you just not try hard enough? Like, were you just not being consistent? Were you not present every day? Were you not showing up for your people?
Yeah, it's always, it didn't work out. Not that I didn't work it, right?
Well, I mean, sometimes.
Right. I did everything right and it didn't work. I don't know. It just didn't work. Yeah, social media doesn't work.
Or how about this? It worked so well, I stopped doing it because I wanted to get more creative.
There we go. I like that. I actually like that one.
That's funny.
But yeah, so that's one of the big ones that we talk about a lot, just because we see that that's a failure point for so many people, right? Mm-hmm. But the final mistake that I'll bring up is one that kind of I learned, and ever since I learned it, I'm like preaching it to everyone. But it's essentially like you take the I out of the game. You take it's not about I, and it's really about your reader, your customer, your community. And so I always say take the I out and insert the you, which is YOU. So instead of saying, you know, I sold 10,000 products last month, let me show you how, it would be, you can learn how to sell 10,000 products in your business if you click this link, right?
So good.
I didn't say I at all, but it comes from my experience. It comes from who I am and what I do. But I have to tell people why they are going to find it valuable or why they are going to want to sign up. Sorry, I get really excited.
Can you tell Chaz when you first sort of like came to this realization and took a look at one of our sales pages?
Oh, so fun story. When I learned this, it took me a while to really understand how to use you. And so I went back, and the first thing you do is kind of do a self audit. And I went back and looked at one of my sales pages for this program that we have. And I had written the word I 77 times.
Oh, wow. I'm surprised you actually went and counted, because
I totally counted.
At 30, I'd be like, okay, I get the point.
At the point when it got really ridiculous, I was like, wow, this is a big thing. However, when I changed it, and when I made it all you, instead of I can get 1 million impressions on Pinterest and I get 50,000 clicks per month, it was, you will learn how to get 1 million impressions. You will learn how to get 40,000 clicks. You will learn. And it wasn't it wasn't a major shift, but the way that people read this is the way that they internalize it. They get excited. They're like, those are the things that I want.
So did you see results difference? Did you see
absolutely. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
So that might be
night and day.
Yeah, that might just be a 6-figure thing right there. And my team that's listening, we need to go back and check every one of our sales pages and make sure that that's the language we use, because words matter. Words matter on this, right? It's interesting to watch. So I'm going to add one social media mistake. I'm going to add one too, and because I'm not the expert, but this one is not that. It's a no-brainer, but you'd think, really? And that is, when you go to do a job interview, don't post while you're sitting out in the parking lot about the job interview on your social media. I'm just saying, like,
oh my gosh.
So just a quick story, you guys. My friend was interviewing, he tells this story. He was interviewing somebody, and when they got to it, it was like a second interview, and they were ready to offer her the job. So they did. And I don't remember what it was. Let's say it's $15 an hour. And she said, well, I already have 2 offers. If you could go a little higher, we could make this happen. And so he did, thinking he didn't want to miss out. And so they signed paperwork, etc. She left, got out in her car, and she posted, just got a new job, was able to convince him that I had other offers to go up $1 an hour, etc. And you think he hired you. You don't think he's ever going to see your social media. And so his other assistants in the office, before she even left the parking lot, she had posted it, and the other assistant's like, you might want to take a look at this. And so he called her and said, hey, are you still in the parking lot? She said yes. He went downstairs and let her know he was moving on. So guys, like come on, right? You think common sense, but sometimes you see this stuff in social media. And
well, let me tell you, one of our mantras. Brian's got a really fun sense of humor, and sometimes, it's like him and his boys. They're really funny.
Oh yeah.
But I always tell him, I'm like, hey, don't put anything on social media you wouldn't be okay with being on a billboard.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that can happen, right? Anything, not in a private group, in a public group, on a page, as a comment, whatever it is. Whatever you're putting out there has the potential to blow up. So you better be really confident behind what you're posting, that you're comfortable with it, because it could totally blow up like that.
Yeah, it's such good advice. And it seems simple, right? But it's totally true.
You run it through a filter.
Don't be inauthentic. Be authentic.
Right, totally.
Post what's happening and how and why in your life. It's important. But if you're going to be dishonest with somebody, don't share that for the world to see, we might caution you not to be dishonest anyway, but if you're inclined to be that type of person, don't, I think my brother's an attorney, and he says, don't break the law while you're breaking the law, So like, if you're doing something that you're getting away with, don't start doing other things,
Right.
So, okay. So, well, first of all, I have a question we got from somebody watching. So Priscilla, love this question. Priscilla says, what is the best way to post about an award I received in my business to make it valuable to you like an excellence in customer service award in my company? I love that question.
Yeah.
That is an amazing. Okay, and so
congratulations on that award.
Congratulations.
Yes,
That's
good
cool.
job. Yes.
Okay, so here's what I would do. And so this is kind of a new concept. I get really excited. I'm like, move, Brian. I gotta. So you can talk about I, right? You can absolutely talk about I. Storytelling is really, really important. But what you can do is really find a way that you can share your success that helps someone else, right? Maybe it can be, this is an award that I've wanted for so long. And the fact that my hard work was recognized just really reinforces that when you work hard, you are rewarded for that. And so I just want to encourage everyone, if there's something out there, an achievement, an award, or something that you want in your life, work hard for it because you're going to get it, right? Like you can add in those little anecdotes, and I'm totally going to cut you off and keep going. But what I like to do is think of social media like it's a blog. And so a really good person to follow for this is like, if anyone watches The Rock on social media, he does this really, really well. And I talked about this with my tribe last week. But what you want to do is really come up with ways that tell a story that are really, really short and sweet, and use some of the who, what, when, where, and why, right? Who am I talking about? Why am I sharing this? What is it? Where am I? Like you can come up with little things that are helpful, but let you tell your story, but can also be valuable for the reader. So definitely a little kind of a formula that you can use for that.
And there's a great way too. You could, sorry, Brian, I'm going to cut you off too. And I'm just going to, so there's a great thing you could do too. She could turn it around and say, I want to thank all of my customers and my clients because without you, I could not have achieved this award, and I really recognize that it's all about you, the reason I got this, et cetera, et cetera. All right, Brian, you're up, man.
That's essentially what I was going to say. I think you and I are cut from the same cloth. Yeah. It is, you speak to the value of what the award means to you, right? And so I was recognized for this because my customers are important to me. So it's all about you. I love the way that you phrased it. So I can't do better than that. So I will just be quiet.
Brian, I knew you were going to say that, and I just wanted to beat you to it. So you guys are so good. I love having you on my show. This is listen, as I said to you before, the most viewed show we've had, the most requested to come back on the show. And I think it's really because you guys are just real, and you have great advice for people that they're all struggling with, to say, listen, I know I need to do social media. I know it's there. I know it's part of it. And where I struggle is it's telling the story that I sometimes think is not important. So I'll give you an example. And this took everything I could, because my coach, who we all know, we have similar coaches in this space and marketing and media, they're like, you need to just turn that phone on and hit record and do some of this stuff. So I thought, okay. So the other day, my wife sent me to the store, and she sent me to go get 4 items. And I posted this. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I posted this. I was like, well, it's not just 4 items, right? One was avocados, but no one told me there's large, medium, and organic, right? So it was, and then I had to get this specific vegetable, but it couldn't be too ripe, and it had to be a certain color green.
Oh.
And then I needed this thing, but I needed the 8-pack, not the 6-pack. So it wasn't just 4 items. I had multiple checklists I had to get this off. And I posted, I said, how many people think I'm going to end up back at the store?
Yeah, I know, right?
Right? And so like, it's those kinds of things that I struggle with, because I'm all about producing content. So how do you balance that? Like, is that stuff valuable to people because it shows a certain side, or should I just stick content?
Yeah, of course it's valuable.
Yes.
People want to know more about you and like what makes you tick and what are you doing? We actually get a lot of questions. People ask us, how do we work together? Right? It has nothing to do with marketing, but they just want to know. So
Right.
I think that those are really good opportunities to kind of let people know a little bit more about you, right? The man behind the business. Like, who are you? What makes you tick? Why'd you get into doing what you're doing? And honestly, people love those little details.
Yeah.
So one thing that everybody can do who's watching, right? And I'll tell you just kind of a little example of this is you give people just a little bit more detail, just a little bit more, right? And even if you're doing a video, one of the things you can do is you can put the text on there so people know what you're talking about. Like, wife gave me a list. Let's see if I can knock it out, right?
Yeah,
and then the next one can be like, okay, guys, need some help here. Did she want the large avocado or the small one? I don't know. Like, you can kind of make it playful and get people involved by giving them more details. And one of the things that we did was we went to this great restaurant here in town, and I ordered a new drink, and it was called a Hawaiian Mule. And I, for whatever reason, just thought it was the best thing ever. So I took a picture of it, and then on it I put, Hawaiian Mule, and then I just listed the ingredients, 4 ingredients: ginger beer, pineapple juice, pineapple vodka, and mint. And I just posted that on Instagram stories. And I had like 6 or 7 DMs from people who were like, oh my gosh, where'd you get that? It sounds so good. Oh, is it delicious? Was it good? Da, da, da. And if I'm just having a drink, it's just me being me, but I added a little bit extra, right? I go to Starbucks. I get a tall iced vanilla bean coconut milk latte. But I'll post it. I know this is really funny, but like I'll post it and I'll say what it is. Yeah. And then I'll put like only 90 calories, guaranteed. Always gets a ton of engagement. People are like, whoa, is it good? I'm going to get it. And so it's those little things, those little details that you share that give people a little bit more of you, and they love that.
Because social media is meant to be social, right? Yes. It's a relationship. And if you keep that in mind, and you think to yourself, how many people do I like going to dinner with who only talk about work? Not very many. Right. I like to go to dinner with people, and I'd love to hear what's going on professionally, but then I also want more. And
I gotcha.
And so social media gives you an opportunity to share that little bit more,
So everyone wants, yes, I did. I nailed it. I got all 4 items.
Yes.
I got all 4 items.
I love when people are like invested. Yeah. But you know what? You just answered your own question. So is that content you posting? People respond to it. They respond to real, right?
Yes.
Like they want to know you are real.
Yeah, you can relate to it. We were at church on Sunday, and we go to Saddleback with Pastor Rick Warren.
Yeah.
And he was saying there's a reason why if somebody ever stumbles, they hit a crack in the sidewalk, that everybody goes, it's because everybody can relate to that happening to them, right? Everybody goes to the store to get groceries. Everybody, most males, have had a list from their wife at some point in time. No. And never. And so it's relatable. It's something that everybody experiences, and it gives them a little insight into who you are and what life is like behind the scenes.
Love it. Thanks, guys. We keep the questions coming. I'm going to ask here. We'll get just a question or two into Kat and Brian. So here, okay, let's talk about this in transition for a second. Not only do you have great wisdom and advice for people in social media, and it's spot on, but you now provide the resource and the tool with Tassie. So talk about that, because guys, if you're listening to this and you find, first of all, if you're doing any social media, you should. And if you're doing any social media, you need a tool like this. Tassie is the answer, right? Here's your problem. This is the solution. So talk about Tassie and how it can help the people who are doing their social media really improve that and take the stress out.
Go for it. Tassie's your baby, babe.
Okay. Well, it's our baby, but so if you're listening and you're tuning in or watching, and you've noticed that Kat is sort of just really naturally gifted at doing this. She can word things in a way that's engaging. She takes the time to research and reflect and apply and test prior to releasing, either for our clients or customers. All of that legwork's been done. So if you're the type of person who's listening or watching this and thinking to yourself, you know what, I should have a plan, or I should think about that 80-20 rule, or what goes into that 80? I don't know. We wanted to help answer those questions for you and make it very, very simple. And so we've spent the last few years and quite a bit of resources developing a tool that with one click you log in, and we take this mind, clone it, and duplicate it for you and your business. So she tells you what to post and when, and then we create content in each of those categories. So this morning, it may be the recommended post might be something engaging, and this afternoon, something funny. And then, near the end of the month, we may run a Labor Day promotion through that weekend. So it takes all of that guesswork out of it. There's a roadmap for you to follow. And with the click of a button, you can pull up content in each of those categories if you don't have the time to develop your own, or you don't have a team behind you for that particular moment. And so you find the graphic image that's relevant for your business. And with the click of a button, you can add your logo and URL. You can hit save and move on.
So good.
So instead of having to open up Photoshop and create an image file and drop your logo on it, and then open up every social media platform to schedule that post to go out, we do all of that for you with the click of a button from one interface. You can share to Facebook, your business page, or your groups, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc.
So what's the website? How do they find it?
Oh, good question. It's gettassi.com. GET, TASSI.com.
Gettassi.com. We'll make sure we include it in the notes so people can find it.
Thank you.
And we're going to be talking about it more on a regular basis. We're going to have you guys on monthly on Facebook to be talking about this because we think there's so much value to what you have to our audience because, look, it's not going away. Social media is here to stay. And so they just need the tools and the resources so that we can educate them, equip them, and then empower them to do what they need to on the social media platforms. And so that's why we're going to have you guys back.
Thank you.
All right. Any other? Did I go for organic? No, I got the large avocados.
We're still talking about avocados.
Here was my thought process. I thought if I get organic, she might say, like, that's a win-lose. I either win big or I lose. She's going to be like, why'd you pay extra for organic? I just wanted, right? And then I thought if I get the medium avocados, then it's going to be too small.
Right.
And I thought I'd rather have too much than too small. And
I
went with the large avocados, and she's like, and I didn't even say anything. And she opened up. She goes, "Oh, perfect." And I was like, "There we go."
That's great.
Nailed it. All right. One last thing here I want to ask you guys, unless any other questions come in and people are really getting a ton of thumbs up, loving the content here.
Wonderful.
Great questions. They love the feedback. They learned so much from this. Those are the kinds of comments we're getting.
That's great. You're a very good question asker, Chaz.
Oh, well, thank you.
I mean, you're very good at this.
And if my audience is here because I've shared it with them, Chaz is also going to be on our show.
That's right.
So
love it. Yes.
We're going to be learning from him, and I'm super excited to share because he's super successful, although very humble and not braggy, but I'll brag for him.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
very
you.
good at building a networking community face-to-face. So a really good message for everybody in our community.
Thank you. Yeah, we've got a great tribe. I'll tell you, somebody asked me that. So what keeps you grounded? One time I was doing a Q&A at an event. They said, what keeps you grounded? I said, well, when I fly back tonight, I'm going to walk in the door. My wife's going to give me a hug. She's going to say, how was it? And then she's going to say, take out the trash. So I'm like, no, that's why I have 4 boys, to take out the trash.
Right.
So it keeps you grounded. We also got love having the tools that help me leverage my time. Thank you. So just a lot of great stuff. Guys, listen, we've been blessed today to hear from Brian and Kat Sullivan. And go to gettassi.com, learn more about that, get signed up, use that tool, use the resources that we bring you here on this episode. Keep an eye out on our social media for more. If you want to subscribe to this, we bring you great entrepreneurs like them every single Monday, noon Central, Connect, Share, Prosper on our Master Networks Facebook page. And keep the conversation going. I know last time, lots of great questions came in on episode 1, and they stayed engaged, and we're answering those. So guys, if you have future questions, maybe you didn't want to have your question called out live on the show. I get that. So you can ask it and they'll comment. We also just got Lori Miller. I use Tassi in our small business, so she highly recommends it. So
thanks, Lori.
Hi, Lori.
Yes. So guys, thank you so much for being on Connect, Share, Prosper. Can't wait to bring more of this to our community and to our team. Once again, thank you for being on Connect, Share, Prosper.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.